Yosha, my man, how are you?
I'm good, Torsten. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on your podcast or of sorts.
Yeah, so for everyone here, this is Yosha. This is a little behind the scenes of the Papercut animations. Yosha is a very talented German, but now London-based, filmmaker, director, producer. But we were specifically working on those famous Papercut animations, and this is really to explore, explain, let you see behind the process how things like that work. So. Let's start with an introduction. Sorry, I probably introduced you a little bit, but maybe add a little bit more content there.
I think you did a pretty good job. I'm a German filmmaker now based in London, and yeah, doing lots of different things. But I've recently come across this. Well, not really come across, but I would like to say sort of found my own somewhat unique style in making these paper cut sequences for advertisements, short films, and Torsten's documentary Fortitude as well, which is mainly comes about by me taking photos of certain sort of textures and places, and then taking them into printing them out and then cutting them out onto paper, and then sort of creating these scenes with it.
Yeah, and some real 3D objects too. But maybe let's start at the
That too.
beginning. So, I actually saw on your YouTube channel, yeah, you experimented a little bit with those paperclip. Oh, I kind of like this. And then I think my actual request was, hey, so I have this Elon Musk rap battle kind of idea, but I'm not quite sure where to go with this. Um, could this work? What was this? I don't. Was this how I approached you? Like, how did it start?
Yes, that's true. Yeah, I shared with you this one sort of YouTube intro sequence that I did once for my own YouTube channel. And that was really the first time that I have ever used this technique. And then when you approached me about doing this Elon Musk rap battle scene, that's when I think I've sort of, yeah, developed this idea and this style more in your film, and then everything else that I've just previously talked about just came after this. So in a way, Fortitude was the big inception of that new style of mine that I'm using more and more these days.
Yeah, and the learning here for creative people watching like the making of a documentary like this is we at the beginning we don't 100% know how it's going to look at the end, or like your career you had never really planned it, but you already start working on this. Then I was the project and new advertising jobs come in, and now it's your thing or one of your things. So it's interesting, and same for my documentary process. I talked about this in other videos, how you just kind of one project leads to the next, and it's not like one big vision. It's more like one thing after the other.
Absolutely. I mean, I think this is a very good example of if you want to, I don't know, experiment with something that you think might turn out very big and will lead you to some good paid gigs eventually. You do always, usually it helps to start out for free, like this YouTube introduction sequence that I did, obviously, for my own YouTube channel, so for no money at all. Yeah, just then it's seeing where it leads, and it's led me quite a few places so far. So yeah.
Okay, for everyone watching and listening, so this was so the rap song was already written, right? That's how I remember it. So I wrote the lyrics. I hired a rapper and producer who kind of executed it. I'm still not happy with the other rapper. So there's like two voices. But we really liked, especially that one voice. And you were responsible from start to finish with like the visual concept, the storyboard, everything. That's how I remember it, right?
Yeah. It's been a moment ago now, so I also need to think back. I think in the beginning you had like a rough idea of how the rap would go, and then we sort of together sort of developed with it, also together with your fantastic producer, Will. Sorry, Will, I haven't talked to you in a while. But yeah, together the three of us, I think we sort of developed this idea. You mostly on sort of the vocal side, the lyric side, and and me more on the visual side and what would look good on camera. And then from there, yeah, I sort of started creating sort of like a storyboard, like a pre-visualization of how this would play out. And then from here, there you reached out to the rappers, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so and the collaboration here is that even though I had, let's say, the text or the kind of idea, that the content relatively clear in my head, we were still polishing it back and forth. And then we needed someone like Will, who actually comes from the space industry. I mean, I sort of now I'm very deep into the whole Elon Musk universe as well. And then supply you with kind of like, okay, this is what it means, or these are his rocket and not the other rockets, or stuff like that, because you're obviously, so deep into the topic. So we kind of we helped you with some images, but actually, I mean, you were kind of the one saying, okay, well, I think a launch pad will be good here, or I think a Roomba robot, or the Tesla robot, right? I mean, it was really kind of you doing the art direction, and we're kind of guiding guiding you along the way. That's how it went, right?
Yes, I think it was probably, in general, a thing of me sort of running wild with ideas, but having no idea of the space industry whatsoever. And then you guys, and especially Will with his extensive knowledge, having to sort of rein me in and be like, no, it would not make sense if there's a rocket launch pad here because of this and that reason. I'm like, okay, I guess we have to adjust the idea a bit, which is definitely good, because otherwise it would have probably looked very ridiculous to someone who really knows those things.
And actually, the other thing very interesting here is your previs. Maybe you can talk about this a little bit, but let me try to summarize it first. It was basically a very, very simple, this is how it might look like a sketch, a digital version of it. Please explain it better. But it is so rudimentary and so bad that we never showed it to anyone. I mean, I knew how the end result will look like. It will also believe in us, but we couldn't have showed it to anyone, right? Because it was so rough. But that was our guide. And again, the learning here is you really need to have the creative vision for the end product, because there's no way you can start all the detail work in the beginning, because otherwise it would have been a year's work, right? We wanted to kind of narrow in, and then you only execute what we know you need to execute. But please explain it from your side.
Yes, yes. I think especially when it comes to animation, which I mean, I didn't do too much stop motion here, but still, it was. There's a lot of time that goes into every single frame, and therefore you really want to try to avoid shooting as little unnecessary things as possible. So especially with this rap, which it was like a very rapid pace scene, we really wanted to make sure that in that short time, the idea that we had for the visuals came across in that short time that we had, and that that it would make sense. And yeah, it was here's the compliments to you guys, Will and Torsten, for seeing the idea, even though the previous was obviously purposely bad almost. But yeah.
Let's maybe talk about one or two scenes. Maybe you have one in your head where you can actually describe the process, where 3D objects and 2D, and what you actually did, and how the photography works. Maybe walk us through it. I don't mind which scene specifically.
Okay, which one should we do?
Or we can start with the one that I was in your studio, so the end bit, because I do remember those. So what we did at the end of the whole thing was I'm burning this thing down with a little flamethrower. We had the flames, right, which needed to work one
Yeah.
shot only, I believe, and then also the grass that was kind of cool. So maybe let's start with those.
Yeah, I think that's a good one, because that one has quite a few different types of elements in it. So yes, the base is obviously the previs, which I will show here again for a second, and then comes me sort of first going through my archive of photos that I've already taken of different textures, like the sand, the deserty sand, and maybe the sky, different trees. To see what I already have there, and then everything else that I feel like I wouldn't be able to get, at least anytime soon, because let's say in London it's hard to find abandoned sort of houses in the desert, for example. I think there was one there. So those are the things that I would then go to DALL-E and other AI tools like Midjourney to create that. And our friend Norman helped us as well with that a lot, who's our AI expert here. And with all these assets gathered, I would then sort of print the parts that are like the floor and the different pieces that are layered onto the scene, and then the background would be probably also AI generated extension of the foreground on a screen, so that we don't need to do too much post-production, which is obviously always hard, especially when you have semi-translucent bits, or let's say something like a torch coming into the shot. So it was very good to have these things on screen. A little mini virtual production, if you will. And then to add extra bits of realism, if you will. It doesn't look too realistic after all, but it's the purpose. But a little bit of realism to it. I think I added some moss as well, some real life moss, so that it would burn
from your
better, I think.
garden, collected the harvested the day before, something like that. Yeah. So just to keep track. So there is, for people to kind of visualize this. So there's a background, which is a screen. There is maybe 5 or 6 cut out elements, a tree, a house, which you generated with AI. Some of them are your photos. You cut it out. And then there's also a 3D object, which maybe was the car and the moss, right? So that would be the and then of course there's a camera which you move. I don't know whether you moved it or did in post-production, but actually each frame we move everything, and then frame by frame, that's the stop motion aspect of it.
Yes, exactly. That was I think mainly for the car, and then for the sort of, I don't know, the thing that was coming down in front of it, the money, the pile of money. And yes, exactly. Yeah, for things like that are very sort of, so architecture and things are very easy to do with paper, but when it comes to things that are a little bit more three-dimensional and they have way too many curved sides, like cars, it's always good to have sort of like a 3D model of that. And luckily, people really like 3D models of cars, so that was always very easy to find. With other things, right now I'm constructing a London Underground train carriage out of paper, and that is an insanely much more hard process than I thought that it would be, because yes, as opposed to architecture, it is very hard. And then to finish it all up, once Thorsten has burned everything to the ground, I also added some bunnies jumping around in the meadow. That's they're quite small, so I figured if I just do that in digital, that would be enough. Even though actually, if I remember correctly, I think I did cut out different versions of the bunnies in paper and shot those in front of a green screen, and then I put them in there, I think. Yes. Just
I mean, let's put this video in there, so that will be the last 10 seconds of the thing. But I mean, that level of detail. Now you guys imagine this is the video in total. How long was it? 100 seconds, 1.5 minutes.
Yeah. So this specific shot that we're talking about was probably a second or less, maybe 2, because it's a bit of a longer one. But yeah.
Longer, but how many? But let's say it's 3 seconds, 25 frames per second, I believe. So it's 75 images that you took, and each image was slightly different because there was a moving shot, right? Sometimes nothing changes in the shot, but maybe you zoom in, so it's also different photos that you take, or you doing,
Yeah. Sometimes there's a little bit of like a digital trickery where I didn't actually make it move, but then in post-production I put a little bit of a zoom in there, or if it's objects in the sky sort of just being digitally moved across the screen because they're too fast. But every time when there's sort of like a real push in where you see the difference between the foreground and the background moving, that's a slider move frame by frame, or anything that's like a car and stuff. that's
Yeah, cool.
moved hand by
And
hand.
and the other fun thing, maybe for people who really want to dissect this in detail, was the scene where I pick up. So this is Elon Musk burning my hand, like, or maybe I pick it up first and then he burns my fingers or something. So it's his Cybertruck coming down the road, and then hands reaching in, and just be clear, these are Yosha's hands, not my hands. And then a couple of days later, I come to your place and do the rest of the shot. Yeah, it's kind of funny. So your hands are slightly different from mine, but nobody obviously noticed. It's so quick. And then I deliver one or two lines. We close in again. Elon Musk has his flamethrower. And then what happens to the flames were digitally done, and then I drop it. I mean, this was a whole big thing that we did.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. Yes, the main reason why we shot my hands on the car instead of yours, I think, was just because getting the timing right for that would have been complicated, and you're a very busy man. And secondly, because I would have first had to spend like maybe an hour or two sort of slowly moving the car into the position where it could then be picked up. And yeah, that would have required quite a few time of you just waiting there, sitting next to me while I'll slowly move that car into position. So yeah, you just lent me one of the shirts that you were wearing that day, and then I pretended to be you and sort of matched it
Oh
a little
yeah,
bit
right.
with
Yeah,
like
yeah.
some digital things.
You had the
Yeah.
shirt, yes, I remember. Yeah, so I think so thank you for explaining this. This is brilliant, and I really hope people watch the entire. So because in Fortitude itself, we couldn't spend almost 2 minutes on the Elon Musk parody video. We show it two or three times very briefly, so maybe there's 20 seconds in it or even less than. But I really hope people check out the entire video. It's everywhere. It's on YouTube. It's on TikTok, and really appreciate your level of detail, and also like you said, it's so fast paced. Like every script line, is connected to something, a podcast, a setup, something else, and you have then visually representation of this. Something funny happened. There's not a single dull moment. So for the filmmakers out there, I really try hard to keep the audience engaged, and with such tools, it's just so much fun to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have anything else to say, like in terms of where people can find you, or what you're up to these days, or whether do you do that for other documentaries for other clients, like pitch yourself?
Well, I haven't gotten another documentary yet, but I've already worked on one advertising for like a clothing brand on this, where I had sort of a car chase going on through central London. That was quite fun because, again, I think the style lends itself best to sort of the things that you wouldn't otherwise be able to fit into a shoestring. Is that the word?
Shoestring budget,
Shoestring
yeah.
budget. Yeah. And then again, now I'm working on a short film that's sort of a London Underground train driving through space. That's going to be fun. And I've already got a few other things sort of planned, but nothing too concrete yet. But yeah, I'm definitely going to keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with this specific technique and sort of developing it as I go along. And yeah, I really love this style, especially because it's sort of, it frees you to do whatever you want almost, which is
Creatively,
always
you have more options, yeah.
exactly, because otherwise in filmmaking it's often sort of like a challenge to see what you can do with the locations and VFX options that you have, and this sort of makes everything possible. Even though it makes everything quite time consuming, at least it is possible. Yes.
Yeah, it's worth it for sure. But yeah, people should check out your Instagram and your website. We'll put it there. And again, thanks for working with us on this. Yeah, exactly. No, actually, you have to say something, otherwise you're not on screen.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Exactly. I have to say, as I was just doing this. Here are my socials somewhere here. You can see them. I would also say it, but it's a very hard name to spell. Joscha Meyer is my name, and here are my socials.
Great. Well, auf Wiedersehen, mein Herr.
Until next time, Thorsten.